Misunderstanding with Total Certainty is a new album that I've just put out. Me, Jordan, nice to see you. Album under the project name Spoke and Mirror. And it is an album of love songs. Now, probably not what comes to mind when you think of love songs. It's an album that came out of my dear, dear love for someone in my life who died earlier this year. In February of 2020, Marshall, a very important part of my family, a great friend, a great protector of my kids, a real foundation of my family, a guy who I had this fine harness made for so that he was able to wear it and tow a wagon with my kids in it. Now, you may be guessing Marshall was not a human. Marshall is a Bernese Mountain Dog, and as I say, a very important part of my family. And he died in February 25th, 2020. It was the first time that death came close into my life. And what I experienced in the days and weeks following that, especially the days following that, is that the volume on pretty much the entire world was turned down almost to zero. Other than very few things which were just so close and so important in my life, like my family, pretty much everything else just seemed like it was miles and miles away. Kilometers and kilometers away, and so unimportant, so just not worth giving any attention to. One of those things that just felt like it really wasn't worth giving any attention to during those days after Marshall died was music. I really didn't care to listen to any music, and for me it felt like a distraction. It felt like I was in a very deep, important place, and that any music I might listen to was going to distract me, pull me out of the place I was in, and into the music's world. What I did find, though, during that time, was I was able to listen to ambient music. And I found with ambient music, as I have often found with ambient music, is that it didn't really pull me into its world. It really neatly fit into my world. It was very gentle, kind of colored the environment, just like changing the light or lighting a candle or doing some gentle thing like that. It would arrive gently, it would leave gently, and it really wouldn't ask too much of me. And so, in this very narrow, focused, distilled world after Marshall's death, one of the things that did fit into it was ambient music. And it was a matter of days of listening that I realized it would be a really amazing opportunity to record some of my own, to be able to record the place that I was in, what I was experiencing at that time. And so in the month following Marshall's death, I recorded what came to be this album, Misunderstanding with Total Certainty. And it was a combination of playing some parts myself, using some field recordings that I'd taken years ago on some trips I had taken with Marshall. I even had some recordings from my trusty transistor radio during those days. And all of this came together in some, at first, kind of haphazard sketches, but what felt very honest, in that it was coming out of this very intense place and really felt like my work at that time was just to keep moving forward. And there was a real certainty to it in those moments because it was much more of a record in the sense of really recording what was going on where I was at. And so through all of this, what came really clear to me was there was something valuable in not running away from that experience. Of course, as time went by, things started to become a little bit more normal again, though not exactly normal because we have a global pandemic. But in terms of me being able to focus on other things again, it became a bit more normal. But I had spent that time really not running away from, not trying to leave that intense place. And it's a little bit tricky to talk about it, not for lack of wanting to, but really just for lack of words. Because it's not easy to say that it was a bad experience, because there was something that was so valuable in that time. Now, it's not something that I would wish to experience, but there was something very rich about it. And so this music now for you may serve just like ambient music did for me, as some really nice background music while you're going about your day. And if that's the case, I'm happy that it's doing that for you. It may also take you a little bit deeper if you give it some of your attention, because the lesson that I took from it and that I'm hoping can come through is that whatever the hardship is that we're dealing with, whether it is losing someone, whether it is other struggles, frustrations, things that we're dealing with in our lives, and we all have them, the tendency usually is to run away, to make those things stop as quickly as they can. What I discovered after Marshall's death was that there really was some value, some treasures to be found in not running away from that experience. And this album is intended to capture some of that, intended to convey some of that, and really give you that sense that out of some of those hardest experiences, there really can be some beautiful, meaningful things that come forward. Misunderstanding with Total Certainty by Spoken Mirror. You can find it on Spotify, you can find it on Apple Music, Amazon streaming service, Bandcamp, SoundCloud, wherever on the internet you find your music. I hope that you enjoy it. Maybe even more than that, I hope that it takes you where you need to go.